Yo, see me talking about hoops, keep it real all day. Tune into the podcast with Jennifer Porte. Got the latest stats for you, got lots to say. She gon' break it down for you, alright, okay. She got the scoop on the players, she gon' tell it all. Tune in to Let's Talk Man and Basketball. Yo, what's that shooting average? Who's the best of all? How they performing when they're back against the wall? And yeah, she got the facts when you looking for truth. She gon' tell you who's the best at a 3-point shoot. Yo, who's the one the team's trying to recruit? Yo, tune in to get the greatest and the latest scoop. It go, let's talk man and basketball. I said let's talk man and basketball. Hey yo, talk man and basketball. Yo, let's talk man and basketball.
What's up, basketball fans? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Let's Talk Men and Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Porte. Today's episode is a special one. We're giving you an exclusive inside look at Orlando Magic's Media Day. From player interviews to behind-the-scenes moments, you won't want to miss this. And later, we're chopping it up with former NBA point guard Chucky Atkins, talking hoops, career highlights, and life after basketball. So, let's get into it. What's up, basketball fans? It's Jennifer Porte from Let's Talk Men and Basketball podcast, and I am reporting live at the Orlando Magic's practice facility for Media Day. We're excited to officially tip off a brand new season, and we're ready to take you guys along for the ride. So come with me as I take you behind the scenes to get some inside scoops on the players' journey, the story behind their jersey number, and more. You were spotted at the WNBA All-Star Game this summer. Who's your favorite WNBA player, and what do you admire about her?
I love that question. My favorite WNBA player is Angel Reese. And I just love how she has a I don't care mentality. You know, she goes out there every night and just does her thing. So, I praise her for that for sure.
Thank you. And last question: who do you got winning the WNBA Finals this season?
I got to go with Phoenix. Shout out to Nate Dogg.
Your dad is a former NBA player. What's one piece of advice he gave you going into your rookie season?
Just don't take any moment for granted. You don't want to have a time where you said, oh, I wish I did this, or I should have done this. So just try to take every day and just work. Work every single day, come in, give it 100%.
And what's one piece of your game you can't wait to showcase?
I would say my shooting ability. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think that's where I really took a big step in, I would say, from high school to college. And I'm always looking to shoot, ready to shoot at all times, and just showing that off.
Jen, what's the story behind your jersey number?
That's a good question. Nobody ever asked me that. That's a good question. So in high school, we played on Fridays. One of my favorite movies was Friday the 13th. So I remember somebody was guarding me and I was like, yo, it gets scary on Fridays. And I was like, that's why I wear 13. And then also I was born on the 13th. My mom didn't want to have me on the 13th because she thought it was unlucky. So she waited to 12:02 to have me on the 14th. So I think there's some that draws me to the number. Yeah.
Thanks. Peanut Hardaway and Tracy McGrady wore the number 1 jersey here. How do you balance honoring their legacy while building your own story in that same number?
Got you. It's tough. Penny and Tracy are Hall of Famers, amazing players, and I feel a sense of gratitude to even be, able to wear this number. And I've had my ups and downs as a player and through my career. But, I feel like for me, just even defensively, I've kind of made it my own and looking forward to continuing that.
Hi, friends. Congrats on winning the medal this summer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What's one part of your game that you focus on this summer that you can't wait to showcase this season? And also, what's been most rewarding for you to celebrate this NBA journey with your brother?
Yeah. Obviously, I worked a lot on my three. I thought I had stretches in Euro basketball. I shot it a lot better.
and hopefully I can be more consistent with that. So I'm super excited to show that, obviously. And then I think the most rewarding part about just living with my brother is I got to know him on I think a completely different level than what we knew each other as teenagers and as growing up. So obviously now we're brothers, but we're also just best friends, and there's dynamics there that you go through, and also tough times that you go through together. So I think that's been super rewarding, just getting to know him on a whole different level.
What's one part of your game you worked on this summer you can't wait to showcase? And also, your mom is a former WNBA player. What's one piece of advice she gave you that stuck with you throughout your NBA career?
Yeah, I would say one part of my game I worked on this summer, definitely my three-point shot, and also just my finishing, creative finishes, finishing around the basket, stuff like that. So excited to showcase that. And then my mother, she's given me a ton of advice over the years. One thing I would say that stuck with me was just, to always go out there and give 100%, maximum attitude and effort. Her and my dad stressed that to me all the time growing up, and that's something that I still apply today.
Coach, what can fans expect from the Orlando Magic this season that they didn't see last season?
I'm praying for health, that's one. But two, the level of excitement and intensity and physicality of a team that's going to defend all out every single night. We're going to play as hard as we can every single night. We're going to push the pace every time we touch the basketball up and down the floor. And it's going to be a game in which we're just going to try to impose our will on each opponent that we face.
What's one part of your game you worked on this offseason that you can't wait to showcase? And also, what's your go-to workout outside of basketball?
Yeah, I think for me right now, I was just, the off season, continuing to just get up a bunch of shots, continue to try to, extend my range on from the 3-point line, and just continue to work my body, get in shape. We're trying to play faster this year, so continue to get in, just try to as best shape as possible. And workout wise, I don't do anything too out of the ordinary. I'm big on saunas and steam rooms, so I would say that's probably as crazy as I get.
Hi, Mo. What's been the most rewarding part about sharing this NBA journey with your brother?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it allows us, obviously, to see him grow and see the type of player and person he's becoming every day and how much he works, but also it allows us to share with our friends and family a lot easier, because if we didn't play together, we would play in different markets, and then Christmases look a lot different, and whatever you celebrate. And so it's really cool that we can share this as a group every year, and we cherish that because it's not a normal experience for an NBA player, for sure.
What's one part of your game you can't wait to showcase this season? And also, what's the story behind your jersey number?
One part of my game I'm willing to showcase, it's probably just, my continued shooting growth, being able to shoot in the mid-range, being able to punish my defenders, shoot over them, and then just continue to make shots from the three-point line, whether it's off the dribble, off the catch, in transition, or however they might come. And then my jersey number is just, as a kid, when you don't really know much about basketball or sports, you just watch the TV and certain players just get your attention, I guess. For me, that was Gilbert Arenas, so that's 0, Agent 0.
In our next segment, we're chopping it up with former NBA point guard Chucky Atkins. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Let's Talk Men in Basketball podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Porty. Today we have a very special guest, a true underdog success story in the NBA. Despite being undrafted, our guest had an impressive 11-year NBA career, starting every game of his rookie season, and became known for his clutch shooting and leadership roles on and off the court. So without further ado, please welcome former NBA point guard Chucky Atkins to Let's Talk Men in Basketball podcast. Hi, Chucky.
How are you today?
Good. Thanks for asking. What have you been up to nowadays?
Just been chilling, really just doing what I normally do, trying to stay out of the trouble and try to give back to the kids, and that's about it.
Okay. So, could you share some of your favorite memories growing up in Orlando, and how have your upbringing influenced your basketball dreams?
Well, some of my fondest memories was always getting together as a family because I grew up in a basketball family. And regardless of what uh, the family get together was for the time, whether it was 4th of July, whether it was Christmas holidays, in my family, we're all competitive. So things always ended up in some type of competition, whether it was basketball, whether it was playing cards. You know, if you grew up in the Atkins household, you know that you had to be a competitor. And it taught you how to be competitive, how to talk smack, but also you wanted to be good so that you didn't lose. So those are my fondest memories, and it just translated over into basketball.
Okay. What inspired you to play basketball?
Well, I grew up. My father was a basketball player, and you know he played on a college level. And one of the things I always grew up around the game, right? So because my father, when I was born, was in college. You know, I used to go to practices with him. Obviously, I was always with him. I used to also be at all of his games while he was in college, and I just kind of grew up with a ball in my hand. You know what I mean? So that was basically the norm for me. You know, if you see me without a basketball, you probably would be more shocked than seeing me with one because, you know, when you walked into my house, it was either someone was playing or watching a game. You know what I'm saying? So basketball was always a part of our household, and you know that was, like I said, the norm.
Okay. You have a very unique nickname, Chucky. Can you share can you share the story behind that nickname, and how did it stuck
uh,
with you throughout your basketball journey?
Okay, so most people don't even know my government name. Even the people that, you know, only people that really knew my government name are people that I was in class with. So my real name is Kenneth Atkins,
Wow.
right? But Chucky was a nickname that I got from my father because his name was Big Chuck.
Mm,
And when I was smaller, you never really seen my dad without seeing me because I was always with him. So
mm.
people just started calling, you know, obviously they was calling him Chucky, so they was calling me Little Chuck, right? So that name just stuck with me. And like I said, if you didn't go to school with me, everyone in the neighborhood called me Chucky. Um, and you know, when people even in my neighborhood, when I got to school, you know how you have the roll call, and
Yeah.
the teacher would always say Kenneth Atkins, and everyone would look around to see who it was, and I would always say here because you know obviously I knew what my government name was, but everyone in the neighborhood, everyone calls me Chucky.
Wow. And how did that
So,
sit with you throughout your career?
well, that's what I answer to. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So if you call me Kenneth, I probably wouldn't answer you. You know what I mean? So you know, but I prefer Chucky. Uh,
okay.
and like I said, the only time I would be called Kenneth is if I'm in trouble, really.
You played basketball at Evans High School in Orlando, Florida. Could
Mhm.
you share a memory from that school, playing at that school, and how did it help you throughout your basketball journey?
Well, back then when I was coming up through high school, I played for a really good high school coach, guy by the name of Calvin Lingelbach, who had also played college basketball, and he was building a basketball program. You know, a lot of high schools during that time, you know, coaching is an important aspect of basketball, right? So my high school coach taught me how to play basketball the right way. Um, it was always a team game. It was always make the extra pass. It was always uh, be a good teammate and be responsible and be accountable, right?
Yeah.
So although if you ask me, I would always say, "Hey, man, I was the best player on the team, and I wanted to do the things I wanted to stand out." But he made it very, very known, and how can I say, he pushed us and challenged us to play the game the right way, and that kind of stayed with me and stuck with me throughout, you know, my basketball days because you know, obviously, when you get to college, you're playing with other good basketball players, guys who were stars on their team, and it's not just about you. You know, although you may have been the man on your high school team, you got to be able to play and blend in and
Yeah.
be able to play with other good basketball players who were just as good, if not better, than you were on a high school level. So I think that you know the way he taught the game, the way he challenged us, it stuck with me, and it allowed me to be able to learn to play with other good basketball players, as well as produce at the same time. So I give him a lot of credit for my basketball journey and what I accomplished as a basketball player.
Wow. When you arrived at the University of South Florida, you were a bit undersized and you were overlooked, but you became a 4-year starter, and you also became one of the most dominant players that the University of South Florida ever had. How did you develop into that type of player?
Well, I think I was just given an opportunity, right? Basketball is basketball, regardless of what level you may be playing. You still have to play the game, all
Yeah,
right? The best thing that happened to me was I went to the University of South Florida, and I try to tell a lot of kids this. I didn't go to a Power Five school. I was put in a position where my coach believed in me, and he gave me the ball, and he lived with my mistakes, which allowed me to develop as a basketball player and learn how to carry uh, a program. You know, Bobby Pascal was a guy who took a chance on me as a smaller guard, playing, big time college basketball. And one thing, when someone believes in you to the magnitude that he believed in me, you don't want to let those guys down. You don't want to let them down, right? So I immersed myself into basketball even more so on the college level. And one thing that, like I told you, I grew up with a father who played basketball, so I never really played against guys my age. Like I've been playing against grown men since I was 12 years old. You
wow.
know, so when you get to the college level and you're playing against older, stronger guys, I had been doing that my whole entire life, right? I've been small my whole entire life, so it's nothing for me to play against someone that's bigger. And in all actuality, I would rather play against someone that's a lot bigger than me because that's something that I'm used to, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a lot difficult for me to play against someone that's smaller than me because that rarely ever really happens, right?
Hmm.
So I know what my advantages are. I know how to work myself and maneuver myself around bigger guys. So I would prefer to play against someone that's bigger. Um, and again, once I got to college, it was more so just like, it was just another day of basketball,
Yeah.
playing against bigger, stronger guys. Um, one of the things that I always want to do as a smaller player was to stay aggressive and to keep my opponent on their heels.
Hmm.
And by me coming to the University of South Florida and the coach putting the ball in my hands, it allowed me to stay in attack mode. And once I realized that I could play on the Division I level, it wasn't no stopping me at that point in time.
Wow. And then after college, you went on to you was undrafted for the
Mm-hmm.
1996 NBA draft, and you went on to play for the CBA.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to keep pursuing your NBA dream instead of giving up?
Well, I think at that point in time, it was more about rage, right? Um, when you first start, you want to play basketball because it's your dream, right? You want to accomplish and be, you want to be considered one of the best. What a lot of people may or may not know is going into my last year at University of South Florida. I got selected to play, to try out for the Royal University team.
Oh
And
wow.
when I tried out for the Royal University team, it was the who's who of college basketball, right? You had Allen Iverson, you had Ray Allen, you had Kerry Kittles, you had Tim Duncan, you had Brian Evans, Lorenzen Wright, God bless the dead. You had Othello Harrington. I mean, you had the who's who of college basketball, right?
Yeah.
And we spent about 4 to 5 days, Colorado Springs, competing for 12 spots. I was one of the guys who was fortunate enough to make the team, right? And if I showed you a picture of the team that went to Japan and won the gold medal, um, I was the only guy that was on that team that didn't get drafted in the 1996 draft.
Wow.
So that was my motivation to prove everyone that I was deserving of, being one of the guys that should have been picked in that draft, right?
Yeah.
So um, when I looked at what those guys were doing after that draft, in the first couple of years in the NBA, that even motivated me more because my thought process was if I'm good enough to compete against those guys to make the team, and I make the team, um, then I'm looking at these guys compete in the NBA. I'm not saying that I was better than anyone, but I knew that I was good enough to compete at the professional at that level and have some type of success.
Yes, most definitely.
Right.
After going, and also, what advice would you give future undrafted NBA players about not giving up on their NBA dreams?
Well, I would tell anyone to, believe in yourself, one, because nothing happens without believing in yourself and betting on yourself, right?
Mm,
Sometimes, anytime you're trying to accomplish something uh that's important to you, there's always going to be some type of hiccup or some type of setback, right? But sometimes you have to roll your sleeves up and dig even deeper. You got to go even further. You gotta suffer even more to put yourself in a position to become successful, right? So everything up to this point in my life that I've accomplished, there have been plenty of setbacks, and one thing that I'm really really good at is putting my head down and focusing and trying to dig deeper to accomplish my goals.
yeah. You went on to play for the CBA. What was it like playing overseas basketball?
Uh, uh, um, the CBA and the overseas was a different experience. It was two different experiences, right? So I understood quickly that there were a lot of guys in the world that could play the game of basketball, right? Because I was in the CBA, and you had a bunch of guys who may have been looked over, but here it is now. You're in a rat race, right? So you're in a position where everybody's trying to get to the next level, um, and guys are coming at you. So you have to grow up quick. It's not a situation where it's like college, where sometimes in college they may hold your hand, but in the CBA it was dog eat dog, um, and the strong survive. The weak was quickly done away with. So I had to establish myself early on as a guy who was, I'm here to compete. I'm here to earn my spot. I'm here to show that, um, hey man, I deserve to be in the NBA. And every night that I went out there with the thought process of killing, because I want to get a call up. And that's what the CBA done for me. Like a lot of times, players play just to play, but in that scenario, it taught you to be hungry every night that you got on the basketball court. And I thrived in that atmosphere.
Wow. You started your NBA journey in your hometown playing for the Orlando Magic. What did it mean to you to suit up for that franchise surrounded by your family and friends?
It meant a lot, man. Like for me to have to go through the journey that I went through, right? And you know, it was like you've been struggling for the last 3 years trying to fight your way to get just to get someone to open the door and give you an opportunity, right? So going into my rookie season, that summer I had played for the Washington Wizards and the Orlando Magic. So I was fighting between two organizations of which one I was going to go play for because both of them were kind of opening the door to give me an opportunity. Well, on the one hand, on one side, the Washington side, they had Chris Whitney and they had Rod Strickland, two guys that were solidified veterans, good players. And on the other side, Orlando had just gotten rid of Penny Hardaway, and
Yeah.
then obviously Darryl Armstrong was coming back, but they was coming back off of the Sixth Man of the Year award. So there really wasn't any backup, right? They ended up drafting guys like Lewis Bullock um, and Miles Simon, both who were really good basketball players, right? But at that point in time, I had played 2 years, 3 years of professional basketball,
Mhm.
and you know how it is. Like as a junior in high school, you you're not gonna let the freshmen on the high school team outplay you, and that's kind of how I felt. It wasn't nothing personal. It was just an opportunity for me, and I chose the opportunity that I felt was going to be best for me over the long run of my career. Orlando, one was home. Two, it presented a better opportunity for me to get on the court faster. So that's what I chose, and it ended up working out perfect for me because Doc Rivers was a rookie coach, and again, in the NBA, a lot of that stuff is just about coaches believing in you and giving you an opportunity. He believed in me. He gave me an opportunity. And 82 games later, I was on the all rookie team and,
Yeah.
looking to sign a 6 year deal, which I eventually did with the Detroit Pistons.
Yes. What was your biggest pinch me moment in the NBA?
I think it was my first game. I think my first game of my NBA career was like, man, I'm here, right? And if I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking we played against the New York Knicks in Orlando, and we were playing against Patrick Ewing, right?
Hmm.
And I'm a big shoe guy. Well, I was a big shoe guy. I'm not so much. I'm not that way so much now. But back then, I was a huge shoe guy, right? So my father used to bring me signature shoes. Like he would buy signature shoes on his payday, and he would bring them to me during school hours, right?
Hmm.
So I remember Patrick Ewing had these. He had these orange and blue Adidas because he was signed with Adidas at the time. His was high top, but my dad ended up bringing me the low top pair, right?
Yeah.
So that was like some signature shoes that was brought to me during school hours, right?
Wow.
And my first NBA game, I find myself on a professional basketball court with Patrick Ewing, and I was kind of stunned, like,
Full circle
like,
moment.
bro, like, wow, like you actually out here with Patrick Ewing, and I was a huge Larry Johnson fan, right? I'm out there with Larry Johnson and all these guys that I grew up watching, and it was just a moment. And I remember Doc Rivers in timeout telling me to snap out of it because I believe I was watching, I was
Yeah.
doing more watching than playing, right? Because I was
Yeah.
kind of in awe, and he was like, "Hey man, you got to compete out here, you got to play." But I quickly snapped out of it, and it was a great moment for me. One, being at home. Two, being able to play against the guys who I grew up watching. Like again, I was a big basketball head, man. I had my whole walls were full with posters and Sports Illustrated cutouts and things like that. Like my whole walls were covered, man. So for me to be out there on the basketball court, um, with Patrick Ewing, Rod Strickland, and Mark Jackson, and all these great Terrell Brandon and Kevin Garnett and Kobe and Shaq and Penny and all those guys was like, man, it was like a dream come true, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of was my pinch me moment. And then actually being able to compete against those guys, and the first thing when you get out there on the NBA court, you want to find out, do I belong?
Yeah.
Is this a situation where uh, should I be here, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then I finally find out that I kind of belonged, and anybody my size that's able to play and stick around the NBA for as long as I did, regardless of all the other things, like I feel like I I surpassed the odds.
Yeah. What was it like having Doc Rivers as a coach?
I love Doc. I love Doc now, even more so because again, he didn't have to give me an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I liked about Doc Rivers was the fact that he put every single one of his players that played for him in positions to be successful. It was, hey man, do it. Whatever it is that you do good, you bring it to the to the table. And I remember one time I had a meeting with him at my rookie season, and he said, "Hey Chucky, hey, listen, you're one of our best scorers off the bench. So when you get in the game, if you're not being aggressive with the ball, if the horn sounds, don't look around to see if it's for anyone else because it's for you."
Wow.
So he said, "Hey man, this is what I need you to do when you come off the bench. I need you to spark us. I need you to do this. I need you to do that." And that was perfect for me because that's what my game brought. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So anytime, a coach such as Doc Rivers or what he became, because that was his rookie season, we didn't know how great of a coach he was going to be, whether he was going to be a championship coach or not. We just knew that um, how he treated us. It was easy to buy into what he was selling, and he made a lasting impression on me, and obviously put me in a position to have that was the start of a long career for me.
Yes. After your rookie season in Orlando, you went on to play for the Detroit Pistons, Detroit basketball. One of, one of my favorite memories of you is when you hit the game winning floater with
Uh-huh.
0.5 seconds left against the 76ers.
Right.
What do you remember about that moment?
I remember Coach Carlisle drawing up the play, and I knew that Allen Iverson was going to try to make a play because he was really, really good at jumping in passing lanes, and he was so fast and so quick to where he would jump in the passing lane and the ball would be going the other way. But with the game on the line in a big time playoff moment, I knew that he was going to try to make a play. So right, the actual play wasn't for me. The actual play should have been, I think, was, if I can recall, I think it was for Richard Hamilton. Mm-hmm. But right before we walked on the court, I told Michael Curry, say, hey man, if Rip ain't open, I'm gonna pop out like I'm going towards half court, but I'm gonna continue curling towards the basket because that's gonna cut down the pass enough so that Allen can't jump in the passing lane. And it worked just the way I planned it. I popped towards if you watch the play again, I popped towards half court. I didn't get the ball, and immediately I started going towards the baseline. And Mike threw it out there in front of me, and the rest is history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a good moment. In the playoffs, where you make your fame in the playoffs, and that was one of my good moments in Detroit.
Yeah. Whenever you filled in for Chauncey Billups, you always delivered, like every time. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give young players about staying prepared whenever their number is called?
Well, the thing about basketball is you never really know when your opportunity is going to come, right? All good teams, everybody on the team has to make a play for a team to win. And I've been in every situation, right? One thing that I've learned is to always stay ready. Because when the opportunity comes, you have to be prepared, and you have to be willing and hungry for the moment. Chauncey Billups was a guy who, obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, and he was a hell of a basketball player, especially in crunch time. But I always prided myself on, hey, man, although I come off the bench, I'm kind of like a starter that comes off the bench because when I signed my deal for 2 years, I started, right? So, for me, the thing that was great for me was if you needed me to start, I could start, but I would prefer to come off the bench. And getting to your point guards was an advantage for me, and my ability to read a game, and be able to go out there and execute whatever the coach gave me. Like, hey man, Chauncey can get out there and start the game and put us in the bonus real quick. If I'm coming off the game, if I'm coming into the game at the end of the first quarter, with 2 or 3 minutes to go and we're already in the bonus, that's a plus for me because I can come right in the game and start being aggressive offensively and either get to the free throw line or get to the basket, right?
Yeah.
So those were all of the things that I took away from, being a guy that came off the bench, studying the patterns of the game. Hey man, it seems like we're not in rhythm, right? Watching what the other team is doing to us defensively and coming right out there on the court and changing, the tempo of the game was something that I did really well. So I thrived in those positions, and I always wanted to stay ready regardless of, whether I was starting or whether I was coming off the bench. It really didn't matter to me. I just wanted to be out there in the court and try to contribute to winning.
Wow. Can you share a favorite Larry Brown coaching moment or a lesson from him that stuck with you throughout your basketball journey?
Yeah, Larry had a saying of play the right way, regardless of the situation, and things will work out, right? He said it so much to where it was always ingrained in our head. Play the right way, play the right way, play the right way, play the right way, play the right way. And I can't remember who we were playing this particular night, but the opposing team wasn't playing the right way. And I remember vividly Coach Brown calling a timeout for us to run out there on the court to tell a guy on the other team to play the right way. And I'm looking at him like, Coach, why would you tell those guys to play the right way? Yeah. Right? They're trying to beat us tonight. But that's just who he was. Like, he wanted basketball to be played the right way, whether it was his own team or whether it was guys on the other team. And I respected that about him. I think we all did. He was a basketball genius, a guy who I've never really played for another coach. I think that every time we called a timeout, we was going to get an easy layup or uncontested shot. He was brilliant at those things.
Wow.
And he did a really good job of getting us to buy in and believe in what we had to do and to play the right way. And ultimately, the Detroit Pistons became champions.
Wow. You started all 82 games for the Los Angeles Lakers during the 2004-2005 season. What stand out most to you during your time in LA and playing alongside Kobe Bryant?
Well, I mean, I think that's it, right? That year we didn't have a particularly great year as a team, but I had an opportunity to stand beside and start beside ultimately the second best two guard to ever play the game of basketball. Pick his brain, get to know him personally outside of basketball, and he was such a dope individual, both on and off the court, to where a lot of stuff I won't necessarily share because that's a personal thing that me and him shared. But the brother was just a dope individual. It saddens me even now just thinking about the fact that he's not here. But for the things that he did for the game of basketball, for the things that he did for the organization of the Los Angeles Lakers, he's definitely a basketball god.
Oh. Do you have a memory of Kobe Bryant that you wouldn't mind sharing?
One of the things that I admired about Kobe was just his work ethic, right? I mean, everybody hears about it, but it's one thing to hear about it, it's another thing to see it. Up early in the morning, um, you know, I didn't think that the guy slept, right? Even on the plane, like a lot of times, it was crazy because I would be sitting in a different spot from him, and he would have someone tap me and come back to where he was sitting, and he was always watching film, you
Wow.
know, and he would be like, okay, so when we run this play, I want you right here because I know that you can make a shot, and that's going to keep everything spread out. Just those type of conversations with your star player means a lot to a team, right? Hey man, he's Kobe Bryant. He could literally have done, he didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
right? But he's on the plane every night, studying the game, watching the video, and um, trying to, you know, help you get better. One, and and he was just dope, man. Like I could go on and on about the things that he did. And one thing about Kobe is the fact that, if you wasn't putting in the same work and the same effort that he was, you wasn't going to get along with him. And everyone knew that. So, um, you know, yeah, shout out to Bean for sure.
Yes. Your former teammate Gilbert Ariza recently mentioned on his podcast that you are his best teammate, and there's no days off when you're on the team, and you
Right.
make everyone around you better. What does it mean to you
Mm.
to hear that from a teammate, and what advice would you give young athletes about being a good teammate?
Well, I think this, right? Anytime you hear your peers talking and saying things of that nature about you, it's always cool, right? So me and Gilbert shared the backcourt together in Washington. And what I loved about him was he was a basketball head just like I was, right? But Gilbert is a guy who, if you back down to him, he would dominate you, right? So one of the things that I wanted him to do, what I wanted to do with Gilbert was every day I showed up to practice, I wanted to let him know that I was going to be there. I wasn't backing down. And if he showed up one day and he wasn't ready, that he was going to get it. So that's what that was my message to him. And every single time that I played against him, it was, hey, Gil, I know you played a lot of minutes last night. I don't care because this is my game right now. And if you don't show up to practice, I'm going to kill you. And ultimately, it made him better. And if he's the man of our team and he's better, ultimately, it's only going to make our team better, right? For,
Yes.
for any young player in the NBA, you don't have time to get comfortable because they're always looking for your replacement, right? So, you have to approach it that way. You have to approach your practices as if they were games, and that makes the games easier. And that's kind of what I was doing. You know, if I had to say anything to a young player, again, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Wow, love it. How did you prepare for life after basketball, and what's been most meaningful to you since stepping down from the game?
Well, I knew that I wasn't going to play for forever, right?
Yeah,
So I started thinking about some of the things that I wanted to do after outside of basketball. My last few years, right? Um, One of the things that makes me proud is the fact that I started giving back to kids when I stopped playing, coaching travel ball, and trying to teach them how to play the game the right way. There's a lot to be said about AAU basketball and how bad it is,
yeah,
but I think it's only bad because you have people that's coaching it that don't know the game, right?
yeah,
So we don't have enough guys that have played at the level that I've played at, giving back, right?
yeah,
Most guys that are coaching, they're just coaching their sons, right? And I was one of those guys. Yes, I coached my son, but even after my son stopped playing, I still believed in giving back, and that's something that I inherited from my father, right? So coming up, my father was my AAU coach, and he took guys out of my neighborhood. My AAU team was my neighborhood team. It wasn't the big time. Oh yeah, we got all this. We got this player from this city. We got this player from that city. No, everybody that played on my AAU team was basically from my neighborhood, right?
wow,
Um, so, you know, that's something that I inherited, and I can sit back now and see the kids that I tried to mentor and I coached, and I got a kid at Cincinnati that's playing. That's one of the better players on the University of Cincinnati team. I got a senior kid that's at Oregon. I got a kid at UNC Asheville. I got a kid um, that's at the University of Ohio. Like all of these kids that have come up from up under my teachings and up under my mentoring that have went on to play Division I basketball, regardless of what level they're on. That's been my proudest moment of since I've been out of the league.
wow. That's good to hear you giving back to the youth because not too many NBA players do that. So
All right.
really
Yeah,
good.
we need more guys that have played on that level, giving back to these kids because, if not, the game of basketball on our side is kind of getting watered down.
Yeah, definitely is.
And,
Speaking of watered down, what do you think about the current state of the NBA?
I love it. I love the fact that these guys are competing. I love the fact that you know the game is continuously evolve.
Yeah,
I would like the game to get a little bit more old school as far as guys showing up and playing every night. I don't necessarily agree with uh, the guys sitting out. Because fans pay good money to come see guys play.
hmm,
So I'm big on guys playing every single night. But as far as the game itself, I love the fact that hey man, right now anybody can win it, right?
yeah,
Oklahoma City did a really good job this past season of being a complete team. Those guys did everything together from post game interviews to hanging out off the court, and you could tell that when they were on the court, they genuinely loved playing with each other and for each other,
yeah.
which led to a championship. And um, I think that right now that they're the blueprint of the NBA.
Wow. We asked some fans some questions, and one fan wanted to know who do you think in the league today has a similar playing style as you?
Um, a similar playing style as me, I would have to go with a guy. I would say Fred Van Vliet would probably be similar
I can
uh,
see that.
to me. He's a guy. Again, you can put him in any position. You can put him as a starter. You can bring him off the bench. I don't think it really matters to him. He's going to go out there and he's going to compete every night. Um, and he has that dog mentality, and I enjoy watching him play.
Wow. Our last segment is called Chucky's Choice. I'm going
Hmm.
to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think I am.
Favorite cities to live in during your NBA career?
Detroit.
Best trash talker you ever played against?
Gary Payton.
What's the funniest thing Gary Payton said to you in the game?
Ooh, I don't think he said it to me. I think he was saying it to one of my teammates. But Gary, I mean, Gary's unfiltered, and ain't no telling what's gonna come out of his mouth. You know what I'm saying? But whatever it is, most of the time, it's not gonna be anything that's personal. It's gonna be more of the funny point. But he's a guy who has the ultimate confidence in himself, and he's well respected around the league.
Teammate who made you laugh the most?
Teammate who made me laugh the most. I had a bunch of funny teammates, man. I love being around Martine Cleaves. I love being around Chauncey Billups. I love being around Gilbert Arenas was funny. All right. Karan Butler was funny. You got a lot of funny guys in the league, man, because you're spending so much time with these guys off the court. Like, people don't really understand. Like, in the NBA, you spend more time with your teammates than you're doing in your family, right? So you get a chance to really, really know guys outside of the game of basketball. And if you're really, really paying attention to them, you get to know, their intricacies, their habits, their patterns. And I'm a big jokester. So everything to me is going to be, if it ain't funny, I'm going to make it funny. Right? Because I'm going to be the guy, you as a point guard, you can kind of tell, you get a read of the room, you understand, okay, man, Allen Iverson was a very, very funny guy and a very talented guy. Like, people don't really know Allen can draw like crazy.
Yeah.
And he can imitate anyone too. Right. So, for me, my job really was like, read the room, man. Right. Because as a point guard, it's your job to get everybody and raise everyone's level up. Right. So, when guys don't want to come to practice, when guys don't feel like practicing today, you could tell by their body language. You could tell by the mood that they're in. Right. So for me, I had to get to know everyone, and however you feeling, I'm going to come in and I'm going to change the mood. If I know you're a guy who don't like to be trash talked to, when I start trash talking, if that's it's going to take to get you up and going this particular day, that's what I'm going to do. Right. Yeah. So for me, that's what I brought to teams in the game.
Wow. Favorite basketball movie of all time?
Favorite basketball movie of all time? Ooh. I say Blue Chips.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I say Blue Chips.
Yeah. Do you have anything you would like to promote, and where can fans find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on social media, Instagram, Chucky Atkins 07, Chucky with a Y. And I would say to all my fans, or to anyone that has enjoyed me over the years, when you see me, just say hello. I'm a simple guy. I love to smile. I love to talk trash and joke around. But I'm a people person. I like meeting new people. So, hey, man, if you see me somewhere, shout me out. Hey, what's up, Chuck? How you doing, man? Have a conversation with me. And that's about it.
Oh, thank you so much, Chucky, for joining Let's Talk Men and Basketball podcast. I look forward to seeing what else God has in store for you.
All right, thank you. Anytime you need me, you know how to find me. You got my information.
Yeah.
Don't let this be the last time we have a conversation.
Most definitely. It's a pleasure having you on. This is like a full circle moment for me, because I watched you play since when I was a little girl, and to have you on my show, I really appreciate this.
Not a problem, sweetie. Anything I can do to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I said, let's talk man and basketball. Hey, yo, talk man and basketball. Yo, let's talk.